Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week, we talk about the Royals and about Taylor Swift. We end with our weekly feature, The Comments of the Week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 153. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
We were off for 2 weeks because we had Memorial Day, and then I got sick last week, so we took off an extra week. I just want to say they're doing some kind of construction outside my house on my street, so it's like loud from that, and it's distracting and annoying.
I can't hear it, but I had that last week or the week before. They were laying cables all the way down my street, and it was driving me up the fucking wall.
Yeah, it's annoying. It distracts you when you're trying to work.
The whole house was shaking too, because they were, using the heavy machinery to insert the cables deep underground.
Yeah, it's some kind of utility thing. It's annoying. They put the stakes in my yard and my dog ripped them up. Because they had like little flags on them. He's like, "Ooh, sticks in the yard for me."
And I couldn't get him leaving him treats
away from him. So I was like, I hope you guys know where you were, because
they were probably marking the water line and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, "Oh, we'll figure it out."
Yeah, I was like, you got to do it again. Sorry. So we were looking for writers and comment moderators. We put that on the site and we found people. So thank you for everybody who applied. And we have 2 new writers, Karina and Kismet. So you can read them on our site and they're excellent. And we also have a couple new comment moderators working behind the scenes.
They're doing a really good job too.
They are. I was like pleasantly surprised we were able to find everybody in this short period of time, so that worked out well.
Yeah, we were both stressed out about it. You more than me. I was like, she'll find someone. And you did.
I did. I was like, okay, and they're great. So that's a relief. Over the break, for the podcast, we had a little break. I watched Somebody Somewhere on HBO. It's like a series about a woman who moves back to her hometown and like she moves to take care of her sister with cancer, and it's kind of like what happens after that with her life, and it's lovely. I was really surprised how kind of realistic and sweet it was. That's on HBO. And I watched the Duggar documentary on Amazon called Shiny Happy People, and it was good, but it was really hard to take.
Yeah, I was following a bunch of tweets about how tough it was to watch and basically how the whole system just is awful.
It is.
Evangelical bullshit.
Fuck those people. Like, it's one old white dude is like, oh, the man is the head of the household and everybody has to listen to him. And then everyone's like, okay, let's structure our families around this. And then they have this reality show that makes it seem nice when they're just training their kids to be abused and to be good victims. Yeah.
And one of the older sisters is in it, right? Jessa?
Jill.
Isn't she in it? Oh, Jill is in it?
Jill Duggar Dillard and her husband, he's the accountant at Walmart, that guy. It seems like he really supports her and tries his best. And she is brave to come out, obviously. They did that Jill and Jessa counting on or whatever. They didn't see a dime. Like, Jim Bob took all their money, and they were adult women by them. They were over 18. They had to do that because
that's disgusting.
The 18 kids or 19 kids and counting or whatever got canceled because it came out about how their brother abused them. So they had to come out and be supportive of their brother. They had to do this other show. Like, she didn't want one of her births to be on the show, and she didn't have a say. And she wasn't even getting paid for it.
That's awful.
Yeah. She went through a lot. It was good seeing the other people, too. Like, there were a lot of other people who escaped that cult who had gone through therapy and kind of were supportive of each other, I think.
There's this whole, basically, not compound, but there's this whole village or community where everyone does the same thing and they all abuse each other, and it's awful.
Yeah, and the abuse is rampant because they train them to blame themselves, and not to report it. But so that's what I watched. What did you see over the last couple weeks?
Well, all right. So I finished Succession. That ended, and Ted Lasso ended.
Yeah.
Succession, the ending was fantastic. Like, that was probably the best finale I've seen of a show in a long time.
Okay.
Ted Lasso, I didn't care for the third season, and I thought the ending was kind of whatever.
Yeah, I gave up on that.
All right, and then I've been watching a lot of tennis, but no one wants to hear about that. It's interesting, and I love it. It's been interesting with Rafa not there, because Rafa's the king of the French Open. Okay. So it's been interesting to watch everyone kind of adjust. And then I saw Cocaine Bear, which you recommended. You saw it in the theater and you loved it.
It's fun, right?
I thought it was cute. Yeah, it was real cute. And I mean, as much as that kind of thing can be cute.
Yeah, it's silly, but
it was an entertaining movie. And I watched Scream 6.
Okay.
That was awful. Like, I hate what these new people are doing to the franchise. I really do.
I've never seen a Scream movie. I should. I've just never got into it.
You've never seen a Scream movie?
It might be my age. They came out in the early 2000s, right?
The first one came out my first year of college. So, the 90s, late 90s.
96. I was straight out of college, so I think I was working and I didn't go see as many movies around them. So maybe that's why.
Well, I like the franchise a lot, except, after Wes Craven died, they, brought in new people, and then they wouldn't pay Neve Campbell to come back for number 6.
Ridiculous.
I know. It's insane. I really hated what they did to Courtney Cox and David Arquette in the 5th movie. No spoilers, but anyway.
It's fine.
So, Neve Campbell isn't in the 6th one. They've got all these young people, and, say what you will about how violent and, how bloody the original Scream movies were. Uh-huh. But, in these, people are getting, stabbed 20 times, and then they're running around.
That's pretty typical for these movies. So yeah.
It's totally unrealistic. And, anyway.
It bugs me how many people get severe head injuries in the movies and, run around. They just kind of shake their head a little bit, and then they go.
Yeah. Well, it's a million times in these past 2 films. Just people getting stabbed repeatedly in the gut, and then they're climbing a ladder. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about the royals. So Prince Harry testified Tuesday and Wednesday in his case against the Mirror Group newspapers. So he did come back to London for that. And from all reports, he was really confident. He was composed. He made a compelling case. And, everybody was talking about it because he's going against these tabloids, which have been surveilling and digging into his life.
Yeah, pretty much every British outlet was doing a live blog or, live updates of his appearance. And the New York Times did live updates. Several of the American newspapers did.
Yeah. And
the summary is just that he was calm, collected. He didn't try to act like he knew everything. He didn't, make any wild claims or accusations. I think the way to think of his testimony is as an impact statement.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that he was hacked. Everyone knows that they were doing despicable things to get information about him. So he was just there to put his face to it and say, this is how it affected me.
I read the relevant part of his witness statement, and what stood out to me was that he knew he was being given this role by the tabloids, and that when he was younger, he kind of played into it and thought of himself that way, which was kind of sad. And that he felt like he couldn't trust any of the people close to him because so much would get leaked. And he was like, well, who's doing this? So he was really paranoid against them. And it affected his whole adolescence and, teenage years and into his 20s. Mm-hmm. His girlfriends would get harassed. He would get followed on vacation. And he was like, how is this happening? And his voicemails would be listened to, but he just thought, okay, that's how this works. Because, the phones were relatively new back then.
Yeah, I agree. And we knew all of that before. He's released various victim impact statements or testimony, made statements to the court. This is well-trod ground for Harry.
Yeah.
And we know all of it, but it's still important that he went to London and that he sat there and he was cross-examined and that he said all of it on the record. And that's what he wanted.
The thing is, it wasn't all in Spare, though. He did talk about how the paparazzi affected him and stuff, but he didn't talk about the hacking as much.
And I think that was on purpose. I think that he left that out of Spare on purpose.
Yeah, because of this lawsuit that's ongoing.
All of the lawsuits, yeah. Yeah, plus, it's not like he was there to say, here's the definitive proof. And I think that's why it also wasn't included in Spare, because he does not physically have the definitive proof. All he has is his story and, you know, all of these Mirror articles which carry all of this intimate information about him. And you have to put two and two together. You have to make a reasonable jump to how they got all of this information.
And he called out Piers Morgan as well for publishing hurtful stories about his mom in the months leading up to her death and for harassing him and Meghan. You know, because of this, he didn't feel safe. And this was well before his father punitively removed his security.
Yeah. The Mirror lawsuit just covers up to 2011.
Okay.
So it's not like, you know, he's citing Mirror articles about Meghan.
Yeah.
And that's apparently, you know, causing mass confusion in the British media. Why is he only talking about Chelsea Davy? Because that's the time limit.
Yeah. They're so dumb. They know it, though, I think. They're just using that for headlines. And you said that this is about 33 articles for the lawsuit that were specifically selected by the court?
Right. So, I mean, once again, Harry is not the only plaintiff in this case. This is what amounts to a class action lawsuit. There are other plaintiffs, other people who were hacked by the Mirror, and Harry is just the one getting the most attention, and his testimony is obviously the one being, you know, live blogged by the New York Times.
Yeah.
Right after he got off the witness stand, they had a Mirror journalist on, and she was cross-examined by his lawyer, by Harry's lawyer.
Oh, okay.
That's what the case is going to be for the next few weeks, is going to be the other victims of hacking coming in and making their victim statements on the record. And then Mirror journalists are going to come in and have to justify, how did they get this information? How did they get the information in this article? And I think people are kind of being willfully obtuse about the facts of the case, basically, and how this case is happening. But anyway, so Harry and his lawyers, they submitted all of these articles, and basically the court just kind of cherry picked 33 of the best cases, you know, the best examples of, you know, this could be hacking. And all Harry and his lawyer have to prove is one article that has information that could have only been gotten through illegal means.
That's good.
That's all they need to prove the case.
And while Harry was doing this, the firm sent out Kate to go to events.
It was so obvious, too. She just looked like such a fucking horse's ass.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much how she always looks, but...
Just trotting out there. And, like, the first one on Tuesday, when, you know, the first day of Harry's testimony, it really looked like an event was thrown together at the last minute just to pull focus from Harry's testimony.
So she went to the Windsor Family Hub on Tuesday, and the women at the center were told like a half hour before she came.
Which I think is really rude. Yeah. Especially when you're going to put those women and their children on camera.
Yeah, you're going to want to do your hair and makeup and stuff.
Exactly.
But that should be enough time for Meghan to get ready for the walkabout. So Wednesday, she did a rugby event where she like ran around and did stuff. I don't know. It was dumb. And it was so obvious.
And that one, I think they actually planned that one out. That had a few days notice. But it was hilariously half-assed. It's about men. It's about men's emotions. It's about parenthood. It's about early years. No, it's about rugby. What is it about? No, it was just about her posing with a rugby ball.
So Kate was sent to these stupid things, and Charles said ahead of time to the press, oh, he's just going to have to be in Transylvania this week. Oh, he has to go out to that remote place he owns out there. Like, what?
It was really random. So they announced it last week that he was going to be in Romania, that he has a home there. And I was like, all right, clearly he wanted to be out of town while Harry was in town. So why the fuck did he come back only after 5 days? He spent 5 days in this remote location in Transylvania. Then he comes back in time for Harry's testimony. It was very curious. I would love to know if he cut his trip short.
Maybe he wasn't comfortable there. They didn't have the right kind of jam for him or whatever. A special pillow or something.
The whole thing was weird. The way the palace was obviously briefing that he would be away, that he had a built-in excuse for avoiding Harry.
Yeah, it was weird, but we'll probably never know what happened when he came back. So Will and Kate also went to the royal wedding in Jordan for Crown Prince Hussein, and they were just as disconnected and annoyed looking with each other as they always are. They walked far apart. He seemed like he snapped at her at one point, you know.
And it was even more notable at this wedding because they were surrounded by other royals. And the other royals looked so natural and affectionate. And then there was Will and Kate in this fourth row.
Looking pissed off.
With a face full of thunder, yeah.
Face full of thunder. So we talked about this on Zoom, and here's that clip.
All that is projection. Whenever they said there are problems with Harry and Meghan, it's with Kate and William. The wedding.
Yeah, we know William for sure doesn't live there. That's all this tells us. We always thought he didn't. Now we know for sure they don't live together.
Absolutely.
They acted up at that wedding, boy.
Oh my gosh. William seems to me like such a mean-spirited, condescending, just very nasty person. And he is at the point now where I think he's over it. And he's been this way for a while, I think for the last maybe 2 years, beyond being nice in public with cameras around. So if he's beyond that, I can imagine what he's like at home.
Yeah, I mean, when she was talking and you can tell he's like, wrap it up, you know.
Yes.
I was like, how rude. Remember they ran that story about Kate, the great CEO or something, and it backfired so bad? That was hilarious.
That was one of the highlights of the pandemic, that coming out. That really gave a lot of entertainment during a time where I was looking for entertainment.
It also shows that she doesn't have allies. Like the turnip toff isn't behind her. Buckingham Palace isn't behind her. Like she doesn't have allies. She's a tool. Her power comes because she is the mother of the future king. But like, is he actually going to be the future king?
So it's like Zacchaeus said, like if William isn't even pretending to like Kate in public, what is he like to her in private? If they ever see each other, they probably don't see each other that much.
Yeah, I mean, William is extremely rude. I'm not going to apologize for him or anything like that. That being said, I did not find the wrap it up thing to be that bad. It was very clear that they were at the head of like a line to greet Crown Prince Hussein. Mm-hmm. And like there were all these people waiting, and then there was Kate flapping her jazz hands and like making an ass out of herself. William probably was embarrassed. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So he was like, wrap it up. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't really feel bad for Kate or William.
No.
I think they deserve each other. They're both assholes.
They're both miserable. They deserve it. Yeah.
And they both deserve to be miserable.
And Courtney was saying at the end of the clip that we just played that Kate has no allies. And you can really see that in how the British press is covering the sale of her parents' business party pieces, because they owe a lot of money. They sold it in a fire sale, and they're like, oh, they took a big pandemic loan. They haven't paid their rent on their land. And it just looks like the press is really going after them.
Well, and so the British media was not going after them for months.
Yeah.
They were just doing real straight reporting. And you could even tell that they were kind of trying to go a little bit easy on the Middletons until we figured out more about like exactly, how bad off is Party Pieces, like how much debt are they really in? And like the news just kept getting worse and worse as they like basically had to acknowledge that they were on the brink of bankruptcy, and they're screwing all of their creditors out of probably close to $3 million.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Like, and how do you keep running a business when you're like millions in debt? Like, why don't you just shut it down? Don't you see that coming?
Yeah, and I guess I just don't understand bankruptcy. Like, I've never known anyone who's had to declare bankruptcy. Like, I don't understand how
you cannot pay what you owe. Yeah.
Yeah, like they claimed for years that the Middletons were these mega successful people. Like at some point, how are you not putting your own money into it just to save your business and pay your creditors? Like, why are you stiffing all of these people who were just trying to help you in your business?
Yeah.
And that's the question. Like, how much money do Carol and Mike have saved? Because it doesn't seem like they have much.
So one of the other reasons why the press might be going after Kate's family and after her a little bit is because she showed up at that Chelsea Flower show. And we didn't cover this on the podcast yet because it happened during our break. She pulled focus from Charles and Camilla, who were there later than her. She brought her own group of kids, or she had the kids surround her. It's unclear to me what really happened.
It kind of unfolded, the actual story. Okay. So Kate came to the Chelsea Flower show knowing it was media day, knowing that all journalists were going to be there. And she also knew that Charles and Camilla were going to be there later to see a different exhibit at the flower show. So Kate pulls up on media day. All the cameramen and photographers, they flock to her. She's had children bust into the flower show.
She did do that.
And this little makeshift picnic where all she's doing is posing for photos with kids for like an hour. And the kids do not look into it at all.
I know. They looked at her like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening?
Serious.
Like they were tweens and they were like, no.
And then Kate was utterly defiant about the whole thing. Like she pulls focus from Charles and Camilla. This was his first visit to the Chelsea Flower Show as king. He was going to make a really big deal about it. And like hardly anyone paid attention to his visit. And, like Camilla, like sitting on a bench looking drunk. Like no one paid attention and it was awful.
Yeah.
It just kept going and going where Kate's people were like, she doesn't have to inform Buckingham Palace when she's going to go to the Chelsea Flower Show. And Buckingham Palace is like, yes, you do. It was amazing. There was a real beef there.
Yeah, the cracks are starting to show now that Harry and Meghan are away. They're turning on themselves.
Never coming back.
Yeah, they're turning on themselves now, and that's what they deserve. All right, let's talk about Taylor Swift's breakup. So Taylor Swift and Matt Healy broke up this week, and it was just like a month after we heard about them. Although it's very likely that she's been with him for several months, and that's the reason that she split with Joe Alwyn.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because in early January of this year, she made that very surprise appearance at a concert for the 1975, which is Matt Healy's band.
Yeah.
She like shows up and like she makes a big point of like, oh, we've been friends for years. And, and I think he contributed something to her latest album, Midnights.
Okay.
Like he did a little bit of work on it. And they're both friends with Jack Antonoff, who produced the album. So like they've been sort of circling each other for a little while now, like a lot longer than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a month ago, the rollout started happening, and, like, she was all like, oh, this is super serious, you guys. This is the happiest I've ever been. Her people were briefing People magazine pretty openly. The Sun was the one to break the story, and they've had a lot of leaks from her camp, I believe.
Yeah,
This is just what I believe.
No, I think you're right about that, and so then it came out that he's been a racist piece of shit like this very recently. And he is a racist piece of shit. And he's anti-Semitic too. He's just a horrible person. And bragging about it.
As Azalea Banks said, he's a full incel.
He is. He really is an incel. So he was being racist against Ice Spice on a podcast as well. And that's one of the many things he did. And then Taylor went and did a collaboration with Ice Spice. Like, that was pretty obvious what she was doing there.
Yeah, I think the Ice Spice issue alone kind of proves that Taylor and Matt were dealing with each other for months before we found out.
Yeah.
His interview on that like radio show or whatever it is, a podcast, I don't know. It happened in February. And like, I don't know how long it takes Taylor to come up with a collaboration, but that Ice Spice thing seemed like it was thrown together pretty quickly. That was Taylor's version of damage control.
And they broke up. And right before the breakup, we heard that he had moved into her New York apartment. But then after the breakup happened, there were stories that they weren't never serious. It was just a summer fling. And then, of course, Taylor didn't break up with him because he's racist. Like, what? You know, because it didn't stop her from getting with him. Remember when we used to say on the podcast, don't fuck Republicans? And then we stopped saying it because none of us do, because we're not stupid. Taylor's stupid. She thinks it doesn't apply to her. You know, she doesn't care.
Well, I just think it's funny. It's been amazing. This whole thing has been amazing for someone like me who honestly believes that Taylor is a snake. Like, I get that she has some positive qualities. I fully admit that. She has positive qualities.
She's changed somewhat.
She's a good businesswoman.
Yeah.
I think she definitely changed a bit during the Joe Alwyn relationship. She had a major backslide right now, though, with Matt Healy.
Yeah.
But, like, this has been amazing to watch her fans, like, kind of hold her accountable for her bullshit. It's been great to see.
She deserves to be. And he deserves to be under the spotlight for the horrible things he said and done as well. Like, he's famous.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what he's doing. It's not cool. It's not edgy. It's just being a complete piece of shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. He thinks that he's an edgelord. And he thinks he's like Justin Theroux. Like, Justin Theroux definitely thinks he's an edgelord.
Yeah, but he's
That's
not.
what this
Justin
kind of reminds me
Theroux
of.
is not racist and sexist and anti-Semitic. You
no,
know,
he's just kind of pretend edgelord.
Yeah, but he's harmless. You know, he's not hurting anybody. And yeah, he just dresses. I mean, I like how he dresses. It's fine. You know, it's just his tie or whatever. I think he's fine, you know. He's not my type. I just think he's all right.
Anyway, yeah, I agree. I was just saying, like, that's who Matt Healy thinks he is. Matt Healy thinks that he's being an edgelord.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, he's just an incel. There's no excuse for what he said and done, you know?
I agree.
And I will say that we know that Taylor Swift and her people read the blogs and they read the coverage of her and that they're very conscious of it. And we know this from firsthand experience. And that's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah, I've been trying not to name check certain people and all that, but
toilet paper.
Anyway.
Might have the same initials as the person you're trying not to name check. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right, my comment of the week is from one of the Middleton stories about how the Daily Mail did a big story about how their creditors are really mad at them and they're just stunned and they feel betrayed. Odd, A-U-D, commenter Odd, wrote, I bet loads of people only loan them money and such because of their position in the royal family. They use that as leverage for the company for years. I'm really surprised Charles and William are okay with this story. I thought they'd pay people off or ask for debt forgiveness or call in favors. The Middletons and Windsors both look shady. I agree, and I also think it's interesting that the Windsors did not. They haven't called in favors to protect the Middletons. I think that's notable.
Or they called in favors to expose them.
Could be. That is also a very real possibility.
Because they want to leave Kate in the wind for whatever reason, maybe multiple reasons, because she was upstaging Charles and Camilla. But more than that, I think Will might want to divorce her. So making her family out to be the grifters that they are works in his favor.
I agree. I agree that someone wants to punish the Middletons, and maybe this is happening on Will's orders, maybe it's happening on Charles and Camilla's orders. Something has definitely shifted. And it's also notable that no one helped the Middletons out. They have rich sons-in-laws. Yeah. William is rich. What's his name? James Mathews is rich. Neither one of them are helping out Carol and Mike.
They don't want to be on the hook. Obviously, they're not going to get the money back.
And what I keep thinking about is I always thought that James Middleton was the black sheep of the family, that like he was the one with zero business sense. Everything he touches turns to shit, basically. Yeah. The reverse Midas touch. And I always thought, like, it sucks to be him. But, like, now I see he's just a chip off the old block.
Yeah.
The Middletons are shady as fucking hell.
Yeah, they are pretty shady. Well, my comment of the week is from Slush on your story about Martha Stewart not wanting people to work from home, even though she works from home and, like, she started her business from her house. And Slush wrote, I do miss going into the office sometimes for the social aspect, but on balance, I'd rather be remote than full-time in office. It's always CEOs who work from home anyway, complaining about work from home, which is just such typical CEO behavior. Like, that's so true. Martha Stewart does not want to go into the office, and yet she's complaining that it's going to ruin people's productivity if they don't go into the office. The only thing that going into the office does is it keeps the middle managers and the managers employed, because a lot of them are useless. I should talk because that's my job kind of, but
you're not a middle manager, you're a boss.
Yeah, but you know.
And we all work from home.
Yeah, we do.
You're a great boss.
Thank you. All right. Maybe I was fishing. But
like the Martha Stewart thing is absolutely bonkers, because not only does she work from home, she's arranged it so that everyone has to come to her home to work. Like, she used to film all of her like TV shows at her house. Like, she runs most of her businesses out of her multiple homes.
So she's mad that everybody else won't work from her house.
I guess. Well, remember, I almost put this in there. She was like complaining that she needs her assistant to be available 24/7.
Oh my gosh, no, I don't remember that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What, is that person not supposed to sleep or have a life?
Well, as far as availability, like, she just needs them to have a phone available to them 24/7.
No.
In case she needs something at 3 a.m.
No.
They need to answer the phone.
That's not acceptable. You have certain work hours that you work.
And, like, apparently she fires people if they insist on having Sunday off.
I just want to remind you, it was your idea to work Sundays, by the way.
I know. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Sometimes the comments piss me off. Like, you know, it'll be like a crazy big story.
We shut them down earlier than normal on Sundays if they're getting contentious, because it's too much work.
Yeah. But sometimes a big story breaks on a Friday, and it's nice to have a Sunday post.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. Don't fuck Republicans.
It goes without saying.
Don't fuck racists either.
That also, like, I like that saying that you say the Venn diagram is a circle. Like, that's for those two groups are the same.
I go.
Yeah.
Bye, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.